Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of 13 Rings Podcast. I'm your host Lucas with Mal, Maurice, and Earl, and we have just concluded the regular season of the NFL. Week 18 is done. Let's take a look at the predictions because I think before we jump into the games this past week, we gotta review ourselves now. Let's see who was the closest, who was the furthest for each team. Okay.
All right.
So let's take a look. Washington, Earl had them losing. The rest of us had them winning. Earl was right. Congratulations, Earl. Then for New York, we were split 50-50. Me and Mal had them losing. Earl and Maurice had them winning. And then, of course, the inverse for the other two teams. I don't think we really need to get into that much. But what we are going to do is review our regular season predictions for each team. So for Washington, the furthest away was me and Mal because we both had at 9 and 8. Maurice had them at 8 and 9, and Earl was the closest at 6 and 11. And of course, the Commanders were 4 and 13. So, Earl, you got it right on the Commanders. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right, for New York, the person that overshot them the most was Mal at 10 and 7. Earl had them at 9 and 8. Maurice had them at 8 and 9. And I had them at 7 and 10. So I was the closest. And they went, what was it? 6? Was it 6 and 11?
6 and 11, yeah.
Yeah, 6 and 11. So I got the closest there. All right, for Philly. None of us got it 100% right, but there were two that were pretty close. Actually, hang on. No, I did get it right. I had them going 11 and 6. Nice. Granted, I did not have them winning it the way that they did, but I had them at 11 and 6. Earl had them at 12 and 5. Maurice had them at 13 and 4, and Mal had them at 10 and 7.
I was one off.
Wow. Yeah.
And then finally, the Dallas Cowboys. None of us had it right.
2 off.
But Earl was definitely the closest. Well, actually, technically, it was a 3-way tie because besides me, I had them 7 and 10. Earl had them at 14 and 4, and both Mal and Maurice had them at 10 and 7.
It was 14 and 3.
Yeah, 14 and 3, sorry. So, technically, you three were tied, but Earl overshot it. So,
about 2.
That being said, let's get into the games. We'll get into the games real quick, and then we'll look into off-season / postseason stuff. Sound good to you guys?
Yep.
So we're going to have to start with the game that definitely did not go the way that I think most of us thought it would last week, and that was the Eagles versus the Giants. The Eagles lost to the Giants 10-27. And Maurice, you're going to go first. Then Mal's going to give her Giants perspective. Maurice, tell us what went wrong.
It went wrong on the opening kickoff. From there on, that's what went wrong. But yeah, man, this team, as of right now, I don't know what's going on in the locker room. I don't know what noise they're hearing inside, but it's been a huge letdown these last, I would say, month or so for this team. Everything's falling apart. And as of right now, is the way they're playing and the bad mojo that's going on within the organization, it's going to be really hard to see this team winning the playoff game. But going back to this game against the Giants, they didn't come out with any urgency, to correct the issues that's been hampering this team for the last couple of weeks. And they kind of got rolled over real quick by the Giants. The Giants had nothing to lose. It was the last game of their season. They just went out there and played carefree. And the Eagles played tight. There was a question going into the game if they were going to play starters or not. But because the Cowboys-Commanders game was on at the same time, they went out there with their starters trying to compete. If the Cowboys would have lost, or even if it got close, the starters would have still been out there. But even with the starters out there, they just didn't have it. They didn't have it at all. And you could tell really early on that this was going to be a long game for Eagles fans. And this team is in a world of hurt right now. It was very disappointing. Jalen Hurts early on dislocated his finger. It looked pretty gruesome. He said it popped out. Um, I was asking the question, why he's still in the game. At this point, I think it was 17-0, and the Cowboys had a commanding lead over the Commanders at that point. So I was asking the question, why is he still in the game? A.J. Brown got hurt. Um, Thankfully, it doesn't seem serious. So hopefully he can go next week. The only good thing about this game for me was they actually did rush the ball pretty well. Gainwell had 7 carries for 62 yards. He averaged 9 yards a carry, but they just didn't commit to running the football at all. Quez Watkins had a good game finally. His one good game of the season. 8 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. But overall, this team has there was no urgency to correct the issues going into the playoffs. And it was really a disappointing effort from the Philadelphia Eagles. You go ahead, Mel.
All right. Yeah. So I think that was the best way for Maurice kind of describe the way the Giants were playing in the beginning there. It was carefree. It was really nice to kind of see this team gel for once, really just go out there and have fun, score some points, and, beat our division rival. We don't do that often unless it's the Commanders. Sorry, Lucas.
This season, it's warranted. I get it.
But might not be in the future. But anyway, Tyrod Taylor, I think he had a pretty good game. He was 23 for 32, 297 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was a little bit of a mess there. Tyrod kept getting hurt. Then Tommy got hurt. Then Tyrod came back in. And it just felt like a quarterback carousel. So I don't even know how we had so much success, but I won't complain about it. Saquon Barkley, 18 carries, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a nice day. Darius Slayton also caught a touchdown, which was nice. And the only thing that I can really think of that could have been better was getting the run game going a little more. We didn't really do too much on the ground. Eagles rushed for 133. We rushed for 109. It kind of was okay because Saquon got the 2 touchdowns, but he only rushed for 46 yards. I would have liked him to rush for a little bit more, but overall, I thought the team played well. It was a good win to end off the season, especially going into the off season with all the drama that we're having now. So I think the defense played really well against the Eagles starters, and I think it was a great win. What do you guys think?
I put out a poll, and I mean, we can definitely, I don't know if we have time, but if we have time, we can squeeze in some poll talk. But one of the polls I put out was the fans don't favor the Eagles in this playoff matchup. And for me, it's kind of like, it's a tough road. I don't know. And, the thing is like, I know that the Eagles offensive coordinator is already being stalked for head coaching jobs, which I don't even know how that's possible. No offense, Maurice.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm befuddled by that one. But
yeah.
Good luck to him.
Me too.
Yeah. But it just seems like the Eagles just need an offseason to reset. I don't know if that means by getting a new coach or not. We'll definitely talk about that when the Eagles postseason run is over. But
I'll say this. And let me preface by saying this. This is in no way no excuses for the team and how they fell flat towards the end of the season. But the Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl loss. They had the hardest schedule in NFL this year. Most of their bigger matchups, I want to say Cowboys, 49ers, the second Cowboys game, and 49ers, and a couple other games, the teams had an extra day of rest, which means they played the day before the Eagles. So they had an extra day to prepare. When it's all said and done, and we just went over the records for the predictions for the season, when it's all said and done, the Eagles are still one of the last remaining teams in the playoffs. They made the playoffs. They didn't win the NFC East, That's the Cowboys. Congratulations, Earl.
They were the top wild card seed, though.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. I mean, it's a season of failure. Well, so far, I would say it's a failure because they had the opportunity to be a 2 seed or a 1 seed. But I mean, we still have games to play. They're still in it. They're not eliminated. And going back to your poll, I think the poll was you asked was do people think that do they have faith in the Eagles to win in Tampa Bay? And I think it was overwhelmingly no. They still have a shot. They still have a shot. They have to figure some things out, but the core of this roster is still good enough to win a football game on any given Sunday.
Yeah, Maurice, I'll say this. Like you said, in the end, you made it to the playoffs. Now we have this week reset before we get that matchup on. It's Monday, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a week until we see them on Monday. Football is a week-to-week league. Things change. You don't know what's going on prep-wise behind the scenes with Sirianni and the coaching staff. So I agree with you there. At least you made it. Reset, new season now. Technically, you start 0-0 in the playoffs, and we'll see how they perform next week.
Well,
Yeah,
now
I
that you have, I'm sorry, Earl. Now that you have a player of the game.
Oh yeah, sorry. So my player of the game is Saquon with his 2 touchdowns.
That's fair. I don't know, man. I might give it to one of your defensive players because I know at least one of your guys got robbed for All-Pro, Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, I honestly think that Bobby Okereke, our linebacker, got snubbed from the Pro Bowl and All-Pro.
He's a really good option too. Did he get a? Did he? Yes, but Xavier McKinney had 2 interceptions in this game.
Yes,
I
I
give it
forgot
to
to
him.
mention that. I totally forgot to mention that. Thank you, Lucas. Yet
Yeah.
McKinney balled out, and he's doing. That was great for him because he's about to hit free agency, so his stock just went up, and he's one of the highest graded safeties this year. So it was really nice for him to have that game, kind of show everybody what he's got.
He's always, honestly, when I'm doing defensive stats for the division, when I post them on social media, Giants guys outside of Micah Parsons and maybe Hassan Reddick, Giants guys have been dominating, especially the weekly stats. It's not usually just one guy. You said Bobby too. Yeah, I agree. He's one of the best
Bobby
tacklers.
Okereke.
Yeah, he's a good sack leader too. No, not a sack. He just gets a lot of tackles. I think he actually leads because I just got done doing the. Let me pull them up because I haven't downloaded them yet, but I did the the last season stats, so I can actually tell you guys who was the leader in each category. I know this is kind of. I'm not going to tell. I'm going to tell you how many Giants were in the top 5 for each defensive category. Okay. So let's see here. Let's see. Interceptions. Xavier McKinney was 2nd. Jason Pinnock was 4th. Bobby Okereke was 1st. Xavier McKinney was 4th. And Kayvon Thibodeau was 2nd in sacks. So,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's good. We have some guys that we can really build around with that defense. And, with everything in the drama with Wink Martindale and us mutually parting ways, I think that the next DC has some great foundational pieces to work with. Bobby Okereke was the best free agent signing we had last year, hoping that we re-sign Xavier McKinney. Kayvon's obviously on his rookie deal. So we got a lot of good pieces.
Yeah,
And
well,
I'm
we'll talk
hoping that
more
turn
about
it around.
we can't get too far ahead of ourselves because Mal,
True.
we'll have our time for the postseason stuff. Don't worry about
Yes,
that.
We will have our time.
We will have our time later in this podcast, but unless we're done with the Eagles and because Maurice will get to more postseason stuff with the Eagles too. Earl, it's
let's
time.
move on to you guys.
Yeah, Earl, it's about that time.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Am I starting it off?
Yes, sir.
All right, bet. Dallas Cowboys played the Washington Commanders. I call them kind of jokingly the football wizards.
Stop.
We beat them 38-10. It was close at the beginning, and Dallas decided to flex their muscles and close out the game. Regardless if there was starters on the Washington team or not, they set a solid tone going into the wild card matchup against the Green Bay Packers. What I saw in this game was that they were locked in and focused in securing the NFC East division, as well as the number 2 seed in the NFC playoff picture. They delivered. They finished the regular season finale with something I didn't see from the last season playing against this team. They took care of business and stood on business. The offense was clicking with 40% of their offensive line not intact. Tyler Smith and Zach Martin didn't play in this game. I got a chance to see Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass, a couple of rookies, fill in the guard role. And they stepped up in every way possible and kept Dak Prescott clean the entire game. Salute to those guys. They did a good job. Basically, everyone played well, especially in the second half. I really appreciate Tony Pollard's performance in closing out this game. I'm going to go to what went wrong. Stephon Gilmore, he had a shoulder injury. Apparently, he had a dislocation in the shoulder in which he was out the rest of the game. I got word that it was no significant ligament damage to it. They were able to pop it back in place. He said he's going to play, but I don't think he'll be fully healthy until probably the next round if Dallas gets past Green Bay. Another thing was commentators' curse. They cursed Brandon Aubrey. They jinxed my
Yes,
Butters.
they did. Yes, they did. I remember watching that. They're like, "Oh yeah, he has a mitch. It's like a perfect game. You don't talk about a perfect game, and because if you do, you jinx it, and that is exactly what happened twice.
Exactly.
Once was a
They
block kick,
jinxed.
which arguably was our best play all season, and then the other one was just I don't know what happened on that other one, Earl. That's a chippy for him.
All I could tell you, commentators jinx my Butters. And
Your Butters?
basically, yes.
For those
Yes.
that don't know, Earl is one of his favorite TV show characters is Butters from the adult show South Park, and just that's I had to give context there. Sorry, Earl. Continue.
All right. Speaking of that, it was the special teams. They needed to clean up some stuff. And the last couple of games, I've seen them kind of slip in some way. Like last week, it was a fake punt that they let happen. And then this time around, poor blocking assignments with a blocked field goal. And, I can't blame Brandon Aubrey for too much. He at least had a solid season in the regular season, kicking for 35 for 35 before going into this game. So he was at 100% with the field goal. So salute to him. What went right in this game? There was clean execution and they finished. Dak Prescott went for 31 for 36, 279 yards with 4 touchdowns and 1 ill-advised interception from a tip ball. He finished the regular season completing 69% of his passes, as well as concluding with 45, 16 in passing yards with 39 TDs and 9 interceptions. Another star, true number 1 receiver, CeeDee Lamb, he had 13 receptions for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. He finished out the regular season with 135 catches, as well as setting a record of catching yards in one season for a Dallas Cowboy at 1749.
That was the first time any Cowboy has actually reached 100.
Correct. And he finished out the season with 12 touchdowns. And then I'm going to move over to Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard had 17 rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown. And with this yardage, it eclipsed him to finishing out the regular season with a 1,000-yard mark. And that's his back-to-back time doing this. And he joins a set of running backs for Dallas in that regard, going back-to-back seasons with over 1,000 yards running. The players are Calvin Hill, Tony Dorsett, Emmitt Smith, DeMarco Murray, and then the running back from last year, Ezekiel Elliott. I'm going to shift over to the defensive side where Deron Bland, he tacked on another interception in which leading the regular season with 9 interceptions, as well as 209 yards and 5 touchdowns. Most of those touchdowns go against at least 8 to 15 teams in their touchdown mark. So he really balled out stepping in for Trayvon Diggs, and he delivered in a solid way. And I'm just looking forward to seeing him on what he does going into the wildcard game against Green Bay. Micah Parsons, he tacked on the most sacks he's had since being a Dallas Cowboy with 14 sacks. He led the league in pressures, going 46 quarters without a holding call, which is wild. And then I'm just going to say that there's some X-Files out there in the NFL, especially with the Foot Locker refs. Jordan Lewis played slot, and he played it really well. He forced a fumble as well as pass deflections. I think he had like 2 of them, and I think he really did an exceptional job. I feel like he's getting comfortable, especially after he had his foot injury last year. I'm seeing a lot of progression with him, and it feels like he's getting comfortable in his own. I'm going to conclude this with the regular season for the Cowboys, in which 6 players led this regular season in their respective marks. Dak Prescott would lead it with passing TDs, CeeDee Lamb would leader in receptions, Deron Bland, leader in interceptions, Micah Parsons, leader in pressures, field goals made, Brandon Aubrey, and then leader of punt average, Brian Anger. And my player of the game is Dak Prescott. Salute.
That's fair. That's fair. Look, I got nothing much to say here. The things that went well, the special teams actually showed up a little bit. That was cool. Defense showed up. I'm going to already say my player of the game was Jartavius Martin, rookie corner from, I believe he played at Illinois. He really showed up, got the interception on Dak. Look, Sam Howell ended the season with 21 touchdowns, great, but also 21 interceptions. He's probably, I mean, they're probably going to keep him, but if he's going to try to be a starter, he can't stay in DC. I've said this before. I think he needs a fresh start, but like, and we'll definitely get into more of the offseason stuff, but I think the skilled players are here. Shout out to Terry McLaurin, first player in franchise history to have 4 consecutive 1,000 yards receiving. He got it in the less than a minute left in the game, but he got it. Proud of him. Happy for him.
Yeah, he did. Salute.
That's a big deal. And honestly, he's done it with subpar quarterback play and subpar coaching pretty much too. Because I think Jay Gruden was his coach his rookie year when Jay Gruden was a wreck at that point because, he was on the way out. And then, Ron Rivera too. Like, it wasn't a good look. So, I think I'm hoping that we get the right quarterback this offseason. And I'm trying not to get into it too much. But the skill players showed me that they had something. The special teams players showed me that they had something. The defense is young. There are some young pieces on there that could be good. I'm iffy about Emmanuel Forbes, but we'll see. Kendall Fuller is a free agent this offseason. We'll see if we retain him. St. Juice is okay. We need more safety help, honestly. Safety and linebacker help. Because even though Cody Barton was top 5 in tackles in the division, I'm not feeling comfortable about him. I mean, Cam Curl's cool. I like Cam Curl, but it's not enough. Need more. We just need more. We need more edge rushing too, because our pass rush, now that we got rid of both, our edge rushers, is gone. We don't have any. Like, I don't know if you guys heard, Montez Sweat was the first player in NFL history to lead 2 franchises in total sacks in a single season.
That's crazy.
He had 6 with us, 6.5 with the Bears.
He wasn't the problem.
I know he wasn't the problem. But what can you do, right? So that look, like I said, in terms of the actual game, look, we lost 10 to 30. What was it, 38, Earl? So
Yes.
I don't have much to say positive about the Commanders' play. I mean, like I said, that block kick, which I was not expecting, like that was fantastic. That almost got taken back. If that would have been taken back for a touchdown, it would have made the game worth it for me. But I mean, the game was still fun, I guess, because it's a divisional game. But yeah, look, that might have been the play of the year. We'll see. But yeah,
Play of the
that's
year.
for the Commanders. For the Commanders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not for the NFL, not even for the division, but for the Commanders, yeah, probably. I don't know. Mal's team last week, and so did, I guess Sidney Brown. There was a lot of good plays in the division this year. Shout out to them. Maybe if we did a YouTube thing, we could totally do like a compilation of like the top 10. But anyway, we don't have a YouTube yet. But that's all I got to say about that. But we're not done talking about these teams. We're not going to do NFC East stats.
Hey, Lucas,
but,
who's your
yes.
player of the game?
Oh, my player of the game? I forget
Quan
who.
Martin.
Yeah, it's you mean Jartavius Martin?
Oh, it's Jartavius. My bad.
Yeah, Jartavius, not Quan. I'm pretty sure it was Jartavius. Let me make sure. Let me make sure on that. Pretty sure it was Jartavius. Hang on. Yeah, Jartavius.
Got it.
Yeah, Jartavius. Quan Martin. He's also a rookie, I think. Wait a second. No, Quan was a rookie. No, Jartavius was a rookie.
Okay.
Yeah, Jartavius. Yeah, he was from Illinois. I was right about that. Okay. Yeah, it was Jartavius Martin. Look, he had I think he had an interception. He might have had a sack in this game too. I'm not no sacks, but he had an interception and he got some good tackles in too. Well, yeah, so yeah, I'm all for that. So yeah. Though I will say Khaleke Hudson has come on like the last 5 or 6 weeks. He's been leading the team in tackles, top 2 in tackles each week.
Is that your linebacker?
I think he is a linebacker. Let me just double check because I haven't really done too much research on him. Yeah, he's a linebacker. He is a third-year guy out of Michigan, 5th-round pick. He's had 44 solo tackles, 1 sack this year. But I don't even think he played the first couple games because, if I'm looking at it, okay, so no, my bad, I misread that completely. So he has 44 solo tackles, but 74 total tackles, and yeah, he played all 17 games. Doesn't show if he started or not here, but yeah, look, he might be a guy of the future too. We'll see. He's 26 years old, so maybe not. But anyway, I get ahead of myself here. So let's go ahead and transition now. And we're going to talk about the playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? Playoffs?
You kidding me? Playoffs?
And we're
I
going
can't
to
believe it's here already.
Was that Mal, you're in New York. Was that a good impersonation? I don't know the name of that coach, but was that a good impersonation of him?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, playoffs. We're talking about play. Is he's still around? Oh, shout out to former coaches because now not related to the NFC East, but Alabama head coach
Nick Saban.
Sorry,
He's
has
out.
retired today. Right, an hour before the podcast. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, we had a lot of crazy things happen today.
Salute to him.
He's
amazing.
He's forever the GOAT.
I honestly thought he was going to coach a little while longer, but I honestly think now's the perfect time for him to go out. I think
he's got 6 championships with Bama, and he's won those in 3 different decades. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
he's the only coach to do that.
Yeah, and his team was still competitive, still made the college playoff, but I don't know. There was just something off about the team at the beginning of the season this past year. Maybe that's why he did it. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't retire. I don't know. Maybe he joins Bill Belichick. Who knows? Wherever Bill's at, right? Because they're besties. So
I doubt it.
We'll see. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about playoffs. We're gonna start out with the Cowboys, right, Earl?
Yes.
So Earl, what are the keys to victory here for the Cowboys?
Keys to victory? they have to be disciplined and physical. I feel like Dallas is going to unleash everything on Green Bay, especially with just the history dealing with the Packers and Cowboys. Now, I know Mike McCarthy used to coach the Packers, and he had a chance last year to right those wrongs, but Statner Kellen ruined that. So Kellen is no longer there. Mike McCarthy has a chance now to finish those demons, exorcise them, rewrite the wrong, and take out his former team he coached. And let's see here. The X Factor. The X Factor is going to be CD Lamb in this game. You know what? I have two X Factors. CD Lamb and Deron Bland.
Okay, hang on. They're your two best players. You could argue CD's your best skill player and Duran's your best defensive player. Are they, well, maybe not best defensive player, but best secondary player. Are they really X factors then? We're X factors. We're talking about like players that
I have a lot of X factors.
Okay, we're not talking about like the easy one, like the players that have to play well. We're talking about the players like are sometimes inconsistent, but if they play well, then that's what I mean when I wrote X factors. I should have explained that. Like guys that could change the tide if they have a breakout game.
Okay. In that case, I'm gonna go Mozzie Smith.
Ooh, Mozzie. He hasn't had
a
very loud season, right?
Yeah, they've been kind of putting him on some off-season peanut butter. Apparently, he lost about 40 pounds.
What?
And he was around 3-something. He's down to at least 290. So I don't know. They're trying to transition him from a 1-tech to try to make him a 3-tech. And I think they're trying to ignite some pass rushing abilities with him. And he has the strength. I'm just hoping he be able to get his legs under him so he can at least get a good jump off with releasing out at pass rusher. But I think in this game, hopefully I get a chance to see him and Big Hankins. John Hankins is basically the anchor. He's the man in the middle. He's your D1, your 1-tech guy with just his size. And I think Mozzie is learning under him. And I think in this game, if they're able to do some mix, change up some stuff, get creative with it, I actually would like to see both of them out there during this game because I know that the X factor on the Packers is going to be Aaron Jones. In history, Aaron Jones has been running all over us. And this time around, I really want Dallas to tame him. If they're able to stop Jones and to be able to keep Jordan Love in the pocket and get to him, it's going to be a long day for the Packers. And I believe that. My main focus is with the Dallas Cowboys and their superpowers. I know what their superpowers are. They just got to go out there and execute. And being disciplined, no pre-snap penalties, playing a clean game, as well as being physical. In this game that I saw with them in Washington, I saw a team that was chippy, aggressive. I need them to carry that into the postseason. That's going to carry them a very long way.
So before we go to your predictions, I'm going to say this. I don't have Mozzie Smith as my X factor for you guys. And Mal and Maurice, you can chime in too. My X factor for you guys are two things. One, you got Damone Clark. He has to be on. Like, he has to be on because that Packers passing attack, like, Bland is going to do what he's going to do. He has the Bland effect, right? But, yes, I brought that back. But Damone Clark has to make sure that he locks down because they have really physical wide receivers out there in Green Bay, and that could be a problem for you guys. Of course, you said the running attack. I think that's good. You guys are going to blow them up offensively if your second X factor does what he needs to do. And I'm talking about Mike McCarthy. If Mike McCarthy is aggressive with his play calling, then you guys should be okay. But if he's reserved, then you guys are in trouble.
My best bet for McCarthy is I want them to get the ball first. That means utilize your offense, trickle the ball down the field and be able to get that first score. And then you're going to put pressure on Jordan Love and the Packers to try to match that. I want them to set the tone early. And you're right about Damone Clark. He was another X factor that I think is going to really shine. I really want this defense to have the Rod Marinelli effect. He was the former defensive coordinator with Dallas, and he had a standard with these guys. Back in 2014, he had these guys playing, and there was a bunch of no-names. And John Gruden, I heard on Monday night, when Dallas was playing on Monday night, he basically called them UFO. Unidentified flying objects. In the last couple of games, I've seen this defense flying around and just team tackles. When one guy hits you, the other guy comes and hits you. And the linebackers, I really need to see Damone Clark see hole, hit hole, and make them pay. And I also need to see Marquise Bell do that and see hole, hit hole, make them pay. And just continuing to mix Micah on the line and off-ball linebacker, that's been working out as well. I think Dallas is going to be in good shape in this game. I have them convincingly winning this.
Mal and Maurice, do you guys have anything to add? Anything about the X factors or anything else like that?
The only other one that I would mention in terms of X factor wise would be Tony Pollard. Green Bay has a really weak run defense, and if he can get going, you guys should be smooth sailing.
Yeah, I think the Packers defense, they finished out 23rd in run defense. So we should be able to get some run games going.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Tony Pollard as well. If you want to win playoff football, you gotta run the ball. So Tony Pollard can't be having 13 carries for 40 yards. He has to have an impact.
He has to have at least one home run play. Earl, what is you said your predictions? The Cowboys win this by a lot, so we're going to go to Maurice now. What are your keys for the game?
Well, the keys for the Eagles is they got to set a tone on offense, and we know what Todd Bowles, the head coach, and his defense is going to do. They're going to blitz Jalen Hurts. They're going to blitz him all day, just like what Wink Martindale did in the beginning of the game last week. They're going to blitz him. It's going to be a lot of blitzing. So the coaching staff this week, they have to prep for that. And Jalen Hurts has to recognize the blitzes and react to it, whether that's a hot route or, just audibling into a run or doing whatever he can to counteract the blitz, because that offense is going to get blitzed a lot. Defensively, Mike Evans is a handful, and this secondary has had issues defending pretty much any above-average wide receiver the second half of this season. We get back Darius Slay. I didn't mention earlier, we lost Sidney Brown for the season.
Yeah, that was a big blow. That stinks.
Yeah, it was a bad way to end his rookie season for sure, towards ACL. So his season is over with. We still have Blankenship. We have Byard. It's going to come down to really our corners. Darius Slay and Bradbury, they have to step up. And
it feels like they're getting a little bit too old, but maybe they can step it up for the playoffs.
A little long in the tooth, but they do have experience. Mm-hmm. It's going to come down to the secondary for me, and what the Eagles' offense do against the blitz. Now, one thing I also want to mention is Baker Mayfield. He's had a really good season, and he could get hot. And if he gets hot, we're in a world of trouble. And I think the majority of football fans say the Eagles are cooked here. I'm going to be a fan. I'm going to be a homer. I don't care. I say the Eagles are going to win this football game.
I mean, look, we are fans of the team. There's no denying that. So it's okay to be a homer on this podcast.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Just know that you're going to be called out for it.
Absolutely.
I can take it.
It's even more acceptable to be a homer in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you got to be a homer in the playoffs.
Why not?
I mean, look, if you can't root for your own team during the playoffs, then you're probably like half a Philly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
Dang.
sorry. But you know that I cover the Sixers for basketball, and you
Yes, I do.
know that Philly fans can not turn, but give up. I think that's the better term. Give
Yes.
up on their team very quickly.
It's very hard to be a Philadelphia sports fan. I'll say
It
that.
really is.
Wait a minute. Mal, are you ready for the Ravens?
Ooh.
Yeah, I am.
I
Not
mean,
surprised.
that's not a surprise. I mean, I'm low key rooting for Tampa Bay because my stepdad and all that.
Okay.
So I mean, I got to root for some.
I do have an X factor for the Eagles.
Okay,
this.
I don't think Maurice got to that yet.
Yeah. The X factor.
Go ahead.
The X factor for me, well, I think I mentioned it's Slay. It's Darius Slay. He's coming back from an injury. He's probably going to get matched up on Mike Evans. Mike Evans really doesn't play the slot much. That's the other receiver, Godwin.
Is it Marquise Godwin or is it? I think it's Marquise, right?
Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin. Thank you.
Yeah. So he's going to be matched up with Mike Evans. I think that's going to be the game right there. If Mike Evans goes off, which means Baker Mayfield goes off, then we're going to hurt. But we got a chance though. We just, like I said, we all know the blitz is coming. This offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni, have had a hard time game planning for teams this last, I want to say, 2 months. And they gotta do their job during the week so the players can do their job on game day. We know what's coming, but will they prepare for it? That's the question.
And that brings me to my X factor for you guys. Maurice. The X factor, I have 2 X factors. My first X factor is going to be Jalen Hurts. The situation with Jalen Hurts, he has to realize that they're going to blitz him, in which him being able to read, him being able to sense it, as well as being able to look at the option he has, and which means game planning to get him be able to progress the entire field. Because everyone knows the Buccaneers are going to blitz this dude. He has to take that mindset to see, okay, they're going to blitz me. So I got to look to see who I can get the ball to, as well as being able to notify a blitz, which is, I feel like your offense is having an identity crisis.
It really is.
And with that is the wrong time to suffer from an identity crisis. But you can change that by as well as getting a run game going, which brings me to my next X factor, your OC. He has to come up with a solid game plan to be able to neutralize the Buccaneers and keep them from blitzing. If they're going to blitz, you got guys that can make them pay. Now, depending what they do to get ready for this game, I feel like those 2 guys are going to have to be in sync in order to get the team rolling. Because if you don't, that's going to be problems. And just saying, if y'all do lose this game, everybody's going to be looking for Sirianni's head.
Yeah, they will. They already are. Earl, they already are.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree.
Look, all I'm going to say for you, Maurice, and every other Eagles fan, I'm going to say, trust the process, because y'all just got to the Super Bowl. Don't release a coach after you just got to a Super Bowl. I feel like the biggest mistake y'all did was letting Doug Peterson go, because I feel like he was that guy y'all needed.
Look, I don't think anything that Earl said was wrong. My X factor for you guys is simple. It's going to be Jalen Carter. Because what I think has to happen is because Baker Mayfield is the heart of that team. He's the heart of that team. If you want to disrupt their offense, locking down their wide receivers isn't going to work because they're just too skilled. You have to get after Baker and make him get out of the pocket or sack him. And I think Jalen Carter is the guy on that offensive line. I know he's not your best pass rusher. I know it's Reddick. But I think Jalen Carter is the X factor because if he can apply pressure along with Reddick and along with Sweat, then you guys are going to be too hard for that offensive line to handle in Tampa Bay.
Well, I understand your point, but this defensive line really hasn't gotten at the quarterback all year. And then one of the few in the league, they have one of the lowest sack totals. So, and what's crazy is like even like when they play a team with a poor offensive line, like the Giants, in the 2 games against the Giants, they only have 3 sacks.
You had a lot more against us.
One game we had 5 sacks against the Commanders. The other game I think we had 1 sack. So you're asking for that defensive line to do something they really haven't done all season.
I'm just saying, like, I think that's the X factor here. If they can pressure, because I think individually you have good pass rushers. Like I said, I think
we do.
Like you do, because like Reddick's in the top 15, Sweat's in the top 30, and Carter's in the top 50. Like, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be getting more pressure than what you are. So I don't get it. I think Reddick had like 10 or 11, and Sweat had like 8 or 9, and then Sweat had
I think he had 6 or 7.
6 or 7, and then I know Carter had 6.5. So
Josh Sweat hasn't had a sack in about 7 games.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my point still stands. If your defensive line can get pressure on Baker, that's going to make your corners feel a lot better about themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's the X factor. Okay, so what is your prediction? Do the Eagles win or lose? Are you one of those pessimistic fans? Or are you going to be positive here, Maurice?
I am positive the Eagles will win. You want a number? You want a score?
If you want to, I'm not requesting it. I didn't ask Earl for one, but if you want to give one, you can. It is up to you.
Eagles will win 28-17.
Show you right.
If that is the actual score, Maurice, I will buy you something. I don't know what, but I will.
He gonna get you some ice cream.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you something. I'm gonna get you a Washington
sandwich.
Commanders beanie. That's what I'm gonna do. Washington Redskins beanie. That's what I'm.
Nah, that's for him. He's just he's gaslighting.
A Tutty mascot or something.
I mean, look,
Major Tutty.
Major Tutty in an Eagles
I don't
jersey.
have to have them.
Major Tutty in an Eagles jersey.
Yo, that would be so sacrilegious on so many levels. Well, Maurice, that's a perfect segue to talk about the Commanders offseason. And that's what we're going to talk about next, the Commanders and Giants offseason. Mal, I'm going to take it first here just because Maurice gave me such a good segue here to talk about the Commanders offseason. So, as expected, the Commanders did not fire Ron Rivera immediately after the Cowboys lost because it was his birthday. Happy birthday, Ron. But they did fire him the following morning. And they have made some interesting moves as a way to prepare to hire new coaching staff and front office structure. So let me just talk about the biggest one here. So they've hired 2 former executives to help in their search for front office structure and a new head coach. The first one, Minnesota Vikings former GM Rick Spielman, 30 years on the job, won Executive of the Year, I think back in, 2020 or 2022? It was one of those 2 years. Good front office guy to have. Makes sense. The one that surprised everybody was Josh Harris, also owner of the Philadelphia 76ers, brought in former Golden State Warriors GM Bob Myers. Golden State Warriors, of course, a basketball franchise in the NBA. And I want your guys' opinion. What do you guys think about this? I know what I think, but I want your guys' opinion. Bringing in a basketball guy. Granted, his team, he was the executive for a team for 8 years that won 4 championships in that 8-year span. So I'm opening the floor. Whoever wants to chime in on this, please let me know. And then I'll say what I got to say.
I'm trying to figure out what does Bob Myers offer in another sport, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua Harris. Is it just like a buddy thing? Hey, we're cool. Help me out here. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
What about you, Earl?
I was just gonna say, having a basketball mindset you're probably going to look into this draft to find your hypothetically find your point guard, which is your quarterback, and
Mm-hmm.
find your shooting guard. Maybe that's something like maybe another receiver. Then you got a small forward, someone on the line, power forward, defensive line, and then your center could be a new center. So it just depends on what you're trying to do with that. You're basically trying to find your Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green for the Washington Commanders, and whatever name they decide to go with moving forward.
Mal?
Yeah, I really do agree with Earl on that. I don't know much about basketball, but I would have to say the same. I think that they're going to kind of look into the mindset of, getting you guys your franchise quarterback, which obviously is a great first step because in a rebuild, you need to have somebody to rebuild around. And I feel like basketball, like owners and coaches and front office members, they just know how to build teams. So I don't foresee this being a bad thing for you guys.
So I love the move. I'll just say this as a basketball nut, because I am a basketball nut first and foremost. Football I love too, but basketball is my first love. I will say this: I love the move. I think it's the right move because Bob Myers knows what a winning organization looks like, and I don't think he's going to be very involved in terms of personnel decisions. I don't think that's the case there. I think, and I don't think it's a buddy thing either. Like I know that they have a friendship and a relationship. That's not what I'm not saying that they don't. But what I'm saying is here, I think Bob Myers is brought in to reorganize the football operations to make a clear hierarchy so that Josh Harris can kind of manage it from afar and so that he doesn't have to be involved. Now, I will note that I listened to Josh Harris's press conference after the Ron Rivera firing and the hiring of these two guys. Outside of just finding the right executive to take over for the Commanders, Bob Myers is also going to be involved just partially to make sure the front office is organized in the right way, the power structure is set up, and having whose voice is where in the hierarchy is set up. That's my understanding of it. And if that's all he's doing, I love it. I think it makes perfect sense because he had to manage a lot of personalities in Golden State. Not just Draymond Green, not just Steph Curry, not just Klay Thompson, but all the veterans that they had come through the door. I mean, they had guys like DeMarcus Cousins come through the door, not to get too basketball wise here, but I love the move. I think it's the right move. I think Bob Myers is a high character guy. And I think hiring high character guys to help you find the right guys to help you run organizations, like obviously you need to have a football mind, and that's why Rick Spielman's in there to make sure that the football aspect of this is covered. Because Rick Spielman knows his football. I think we can all agree on that. Spielman's there to help the football aspect, but I think in terms of finding the right leader, I think that's what Myers is there for, and I absolutely love the idea. That's my takeaway from that. And there's been plenty of names that the Commanders have already reached out to. I know they've talked to Eagles front office guys. I know they've requested. I think the Eagles front office guy. Who is that? I think it's what's his name? Maurice. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's the assistant GM for you guys.
His name is Alex Hallaby. He's the assistant general manager to Howie Roseman. And I think you made a comment on this pod a couple of weeks ago about looking at.
Oh, I said
Eagles.
this a while back. Yeah. No, and then of course I know that we've asked permission for the front office exec and San Francisco too. Also, a very smart move. Like it's like they're making smart choices in terms of who they're looking at for the GM position, GM front office exec, however you wanted to say it, because they haven't fired the GM necessarily yet, though I think that is looming. I think that's only a matter of time. It's definitely some names to look at here. We talked to, by the way, just Eagles. Alex Hallaby. Yep. And he's interviewing with Carolina tomorrow. No, Friday, I think. Is it Friday? Yeah, it's Friday. So I'm reading Adam Schefter's tweets. There's a lot of tweets here from Adam. Shout out to weird situation with Pete Carroll becoming an advisor for the Seahawks. I did not see that coming. Same thing with Mike Vrabel and in Tennessee though. I would definitely not mind having him as our head coach. We'll definitely see what happens here.
Question, Lucas.
Yeah.
Do you see Eric Bieniemy being on this coaching staff next season?
Well, I don't know if he's on the coaching staff, but he will be considered as a candidate for the head coach. I think in his press conference, Josh Harris alluded to, Eric Bieniemy being a part of the process. Whatever you want to take away from that, I suspect that that's the case there. That he's going to be a part of the coaching process. I hope that does not happen. We'll have to wait and see, of course, but we'll definitely see. Oh, I think Adam Peters, the assistant GM of the 49ers. That's who we're interviewing from the 49ers. The Chiefs GM, assistant GM Mike Borgonzi, we're also interviewing for their general manager job. And Ravens associate head coach and defensive line coach Anthony Weaver for our head coaching vacancy, as well as Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris. Morris was a head coach before, right? Was he a head coach?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm sold on that one. It got to be a high profile name if we're going to go for a former guy that did not do that has already coached before. And Raheem Morris is not it. But like I said, there are definitely guys that they're already putting out feelers for. We'll have to wait to see on, Harbaugh. We'll have to wait on see on Belichick. We'll have to wait to see on Mike Vrabel now. But I like the process that we're going through. I like the fact that we're not rushing in. Harris said we're going to be fast but diligent, and I like that. Getting the right guy. We're going to be diligent about it, but we're going to make sure that we get him in quick enough because there's a lot of things going on. We've got free agency coming up after the Super Bowl. Then we have the draft. So, yeah, I definitely want to make sure that we get the right person in here. I think we'll probably, if I had to put a number on it, I think we'll probably be about another week or two before we get a guy, but I don't suspect this to be a super long, drawn-out process. Anybody have any thoughts on any of that, or do you guys want to move on to Mal? It's up to you guys. Do you guys want to comment?
Comment.
I like what Justin Harris is doing. I like the process, pun intended. He's going through
pun intended,
right now.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, I like what he's doing right now. He's getting all the smart people in there, in the building.
Because Bob Myers is a smart dude.
I mean, you can't go wrong if you got a bunch of smart people.
By the way, he has professional connections with the agent that it was Jim Harbaugh. Is he the? I always get the Harbaugh brothers confused. The one in Michigan, the one that just
Jim.
hired. Jim Harbaugh just hired a new agent 2 or 3 weeks ago. Bob Myers has a relationship with that agent. Just saying. So there are options out there, guys. There's a lot of good. This might be the best coaching class in terms of potential coaches that we've seen in a while.
Which is good because there's a lot of teams who need a head coach.
There really is. Ma, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say something along the lines of Maurice. I think that with the amount you guys need to fill, because the only coordinator you have left, correct, is Bieniemy?
Yeah, Bieniemy as of now is still on the staff. I guess he's not unofficially running the day-to-day until things get solidified by the sounds of it, but I could be wrong on that.
He probably is. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
But basically, when you have so many needs that you guys do, it is important to be extremely diligent, especially in the beginning of a rebuild, because you don't want to do this all over again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go.
No, basically, I was just going to finish up by saying I think that Josh Harris is doing a good job by being diligent, and that in the end, the process will kind of work itself out. I mean, I hope for the rest of us in the NFC East it doesn't work out, but for you, I hope it does.
Yeah, look, I like how he's run two really competent organizations so far with this Sixers and the New Jersey Devils. They're competent organizations, they're competitive organizations. He has a clear power structure there. I'll use the Sixers as an example because I don't follow hockey all that much. You have a president of basketball operations with the Sixers and Sam Hinkie. Then you have a general manager and Elton Brand, and then you have the rest of the front office people. Then you have the head coach. The head coach is not involved with the front office decisions, and there's a clear hierarchy of who has the final say in the front office. That's what I think he's trying to incorporate here with the football. So I think what we're going to see by the end of this is that the Commanders are going to have president or vice president of football operations, however you want to word the title there. President, vice president, doesn't matter. You're going to have that. You're going to have a GM, and then you're going to have the head coach. And the president of football operations or vice president of football operations is going to have the final say. And that's the type of organization I think you need. You don't really see that too often in football, but I think that's what you need, especially with an owner like Josh Harris who owns 2 teams already. You need to have to delegate that type of stuff. And I like that personally.
Oh, no. I think the process y'all are doing is really good. Y'all are being innovative with it, being creative with it, and definitely adding some guys from past experience within the NBA that can help through the process of stuff going through the NFL. It's just interchanging from dribbling the basketball to hiking the football. So, yeah.
All right, Mal, we got to talk about your Giants because they've made some moves too.
Yeah, so we lost quite a few coaches. And I'll start with, so we had Jeff Nixon. He went to Syracuse. He was our running backs coach. He's going to be their offensive coordinator. We fired special teams coach Thomas McGoey and offensive line coach Bobby Johnson. We also fired outside linebackers coach Drew Wilkins and defensive assistant Kevin Wilkins. And we mutually parted ways with defensive coordinator Wink Martindale.
Now, can we pause on the Wink part here? Because like 2 or 3 days before this actually became official, there was a lot of rumors I was seeing on Giants Twitter saying that he was going to write up something, or he had already wrote up something, or he was trying to get fired. Can you elaborate on that for us a little bit?
So basically, I don't know if you guys saw the report from Jay Glazer a few weeks back saying that there was tension between Dable and Wink and that they weren't getting along. So apparently apparently a lot came out from inside sources in the building that Dable had approached the defensive staff, including the Wilkins brothers, because the Wilkins brothers are basically Wink's right-hand guys. They came with him from Baltimore, and he basically said, anywhere I have a job, they have a job. Whatever it is, our outside linebackers, they just didn't perform well this year. Kayvon had sacks, but his pressure rate was just not good. And Azeez Ojulari, he was injured, but even when he played, he was struggling. And Jihad Ward and Timon Fox, we weren't getting that development from them. So I see why Dable let them go. But apparently, Dable fired the both of them, approached Wink and said, hey, listen, I fired your 2 guys, but I want you to be back as our defensive coordinator. Apparently, Wink cursed him out, stormed out of the building, went to Florida, and then wasn't answering any phone calls. So the relationship was really toxic. Can't have that in the locker room. Don't know. I mean, there's always 2 sides to every story. This is just the one that I'm seeing from what people know inside the building of what happened that day. Today, I guess he got back to them and decided to mutually part ways because the Giants they still had him under contract. So if he resigned, we would have had the power to tell him where he could and could not go. And we couldn't drag this out any longer because we had to start our search for a defensive coordinator. We knew he wasn't coming back. In the end, I don't really think I care at this point. It was just so dramatic, and we don't need any of that. We have enough problems. I just want to move on and go to the next coordinator. I know that he parted ways with Baltimore, butt heads a little bit with John Harbaugh. I don't know what his
I think he needs to be a head
but
coach. I think he needs to be in charge.
Yeah, I think he has a problem with things not going his way. Apparently, the relationship being strained really started against the Cowboys when we lost that game 49-10. And Dable had went up to him and told Wink, we got to stop blitzing. Wink refused to adjust and just do whatever he wanted anyway. And then apparently Dable approached him about it, and that's where it kind of really started. So I don't know if Dable fired his friends to force him out because his friends weren't good coaches and they weren't helping this organization. So I don't really know what the full story is. All I know is I'm ready to move on to the next DC because this drama was too much.
Yeah, anybody, I would suggest not going after Jack Del Rio personally, but is there any DC that you're looking at?
I would, if he is not taken as a head coach, I would love to bring Antonio Pierce back.
That would be awesome. Yes, I think that
Yeah.
would be the perfect fit.
That'd be a nice hire.
All right, Mal, unless there's anything else, we got to move on because
That's
we've been going for longer than I expected. So
I
let's
said my
go
piece.
ahead.
Be good.
Okay, let's get to the games between the lines. Earl, let's take it away.
Between the lines, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes was not enough. So between the lines it is. Mal, can you go over your slate of games?
Absolutely. So I had the Steelers versus the Ravens. Steelers win 17-10. Mason Rudolph went 18 for 20, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyler Huntley went 15 for 28, 146 yards, 1 touchdown. Unfortunately, TJ Watt sprained his MCL and he's going to be out for a little bit. He's ruled out for the playoffs this weekend. Got the Texans versus the Colts. Texans won the AFC South with this one, and the Colts are eliminated. Texans won 23-19. CJ Stroud was 20 for 26, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gardner Minshew was 13 for 24, 141 yards. Then the last one I had was the Browns versus the Bengals, and the Bengals win 31-14. Jake Browning was 18 for 24, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Driscoll was 13 for 26, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Alrighty, I'm gonna go to my slate of games. The first game I had was the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Tennessee Titans. Jaguars could have won this game and then they secure up the division, to lock up the division. But unfortunately, the Titans played spoiler and beat them 28-20, in which eliminated the Jaguars and gave the Houston Texans the AFC South division, as well as the playoff spot. The next game that I had was the Belichick possible final game, and that was against the Jets. And it snowed that game.
I love snowy football games, guys.
Yeah, it was a old-fashioned throwback snow game in Foxborough, and there was a lot of people just kind of sad because that could possibly be Belichick's final game coaching the New England Patriots. But no time will tell. I know he's still under contract, but in order for him to leave, he would either need to be traded, but I think they're going to stick with him for another year. But the Jets finally beat the Patriots because it was apparently a 15-game losing streak against the Patriots. They snapped it. They won 17-3. The last game I had was actually a very fun and entertaining one. It was a Sunday night matchup between the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins for the AFC East division title. And Buffalo, they stormed in the fourth quarter with 14 points to beat the Dolphins 21-14. My player of the game of that game was Deontay Hardy, punt returner for the Buffalo Bills. He took a 95-yard punt return that ignited the Bills in order to victory. Lucas, can you go over your slate of games?
Yes, sir. So the first game I had was the Buccaneers versus the Carolina Panthers. The Buccaneers secured the NFC South with a win 9-0. As my dad would love to say, because my dad loves college football more. College football scores way more than that, and he's technically not wrong. But 9-0, no stats really stood out here in this game, to be honest. 9-0. Defense wins.
Absolutely.
Defense. Next game was the Saints versus the Falcons, which had a little bit of controversy at the end with the Saints scoring another touchdown right as the game was getting close, right at the end of the game.
Yeah, that was kind of messed up too. When you heard Jameis Winston's press conference in the locker room after the game, he kind of like threw his coach under the bus. I mean, not under the bus, but he made his coach look bad.
I mean,
he changed the play on his own.
Yeah, you would coach
Yeah,
bad.
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should let him go for that.
Well, I
would
mean,
cut
they
him.
need a good backup because Derek Carr's never healthy. But
Winston
anyway,
ain't the answer.
look, and then of course Falcons head coach was it Arthur Smith? Is that the name of the guy? Or
Fired as well.
yeah, he got fired as well. He was actually the first casualty. He got fired that night.
Mhm.
Like 12:01 when the clock
I don't
hit
even think it was
midnight.
12:01.
Yep.
That's going to be an attractive job. And if the Bears do move on from Justin Fields, I suspect Atlanta will be one of the main teams calling for him.
Yep.
I think he's staying in Chicago.
I think he should. I don't know if he will, but I think he should. Anyway, getting back to this, Derek Carr had 4 touchdowns, 264 yards. That's the main takeaway here. Bijan Robinson, top 10 lottery pick top 10 first round pick for the Atlanta Hawks as a running back, had 7 catches for 103 yards, a long of 71 yards.
You got you. I can definitely tell basketball is your favorite sport.
I
said
might.
Atlanta Hawks.
Did I say Atlanta Hawks? Ah,
Yes, you did.
He liked the way and dribble up and down the court.
Yo, don't be hating. Don't be hating. All right, next game. Chargers and the Chiefs go for an AFC West showdown. Chiefs win 13-12, a lot closer than it should have been, but it was the game of the backups. Blaine Gabbert versus Easton Stick. Yeah, Easton Stick here, guys. That's who we're talking about.
Shout
I'm gonna
out,
leave it
shout
alone.
out, shout
This
out
was-
Chris. Shout out Chris Jones for getting a sack and earning $1 million.
Yes, shout out to him. He got his bonus. Good for him.
Salute.
All right. That being said, last game here. This was the game of the backups, not just backup. I was about to say point guards. I really am thinking basketball right now. Backup quarterbacks. It was backups for all the. I don't even see one starter on offense for either one of these teams. That is crazy. Okay, well, Austin Eckler. Is he even a starter anymore? I don't think so.
He is.
Okay. So then last game was the Rams versus the 49ers. This was also the game of the backup, but Maurice, our former quarterback, Carson Wentz, former quarterback of the Eagles and Commanders, started this game. Went 17-24, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks, QBR of 90.3. Ain't that something? Had 17 rushes for 56 yards and a touchdown. And the Rams broke their losing streak against the 49ers in this game. So shout out to them.
Give a shout out to Puka.
Him too. I think he broke the all-time rookie reception record, right? With that?
He did.
Yeah.
Salute.
Kudos to him.
So real quick, who's offensive rookie of the year? Stroud or Puka Nacua?
It's Stroud.
Does the NFL do co-rookie?
Co-award winners?
Yeah.
I mean, they could with that award, but I think Stroud definitely earned it.
I mean, it's just that, he missed a handful of games there towards the end.
Most of these awards are like quarterback based anyway.
I know, but that seems so unfair. Can we just have like a different category of awards for quarterback instead of just saying offensive rookie of the year? Can we say quarterback offensive rookie of the year? Like, it seems unfair to the rest of these other positions. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. Totally.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's probably going to be Stroud. That's going to be a fun game against the Texans and the Browns. Do we want to go over the playoff? I know I didn't put it in the agenda, and I know we're going over time. Did we want to go over the playoff bracket real quick?
We could do it after Maurice goes over his slate of games.
Yes. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So the Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings 30-20. Jared Goff had 320 yards, 2 TDs. Amon St. Brown had 7 catches for 144 yards and a TD. The Detroit Lions are going to host their first playoff game. I don't even know when. I think it's the 90s. Some date in the 90s. They're going to host their first playoff game at home, which is crazy. But congratulations to them. We can get into the matchups a little bit, but that Rams game with the Lions is going to be really entertaining.
It's primetime game, man.
Yep.
Matthew Stafford's back in Detroit.
Yep. Vegas Raiders defeated the Broncos 27-14.
Pierce better get that job. He's earned it.
Yeah, I think so too. Aiden O'Connell threw for 244 and 2 touchdowns, and Zamir White rushed for 112 yards on 25 carries. The rolling Packers right now, they're rolling right now. They were victorious over the Chicago Bears 17-9. Jordan Love he's hot right now. Jordan Love is he threw for 316 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Jaden Reed caught 4 balls for 112 yards. And last game I got Seattle Seahawks. I almost said Supersonics for some reason. I don't know why. Seattle Seahawks get by the Cardinals 21-20. Geno Smith passed for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Tyler Lockett had 2 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown, which eventually ended up being Pete Carroll's last game as head coach. So salute to him. Good head coach.
He's going to be the advisor for the Seahawks, so it looked like his head coaching job evolved up to higher ups.
Good for him.
Yeah. So let's just review real quick because we are already over an hour and 15, and I have to edit this, so let's get through this quick. NFC. Packers are playing Dallas Sunday at 4:30 on Fox. Rams are playing Detroit. We just talked about 8:15 Sunday night NBC, and then the Eagles play Tampa Bay Monday, which I don't know how you feel about being a Monday night game, Maurice, in Tampa at 8 p.m. So the seeding is broken up as such: Packers 7th, Rams 6th, Eagles 5th. Tampa 4th, Detroit 3rd, Dallas 1st, and San Francisco's on a first-round bye. In the AFC, real quick, we have Saturday game. We have 2 Saturday games. I don't like the fact that they put one of these games on Peacock.
Yeah, that's a big controversy too. I'm not a fan of it myself.
Cleveland Browns play Houston at 4:30 on NBC. Miami versus the Chiefs on Peacock at 8:15 on Saturday. See, I feel like they're not going to. I don't.
And that's probably one of the more entertaining games too. So they're trying to do right, to get people to
sign up for Peacock, which is really dirty in my opinion. I don't like that. That's gross to me. Yeah. And then Sunday, 1 p.m. Steelers versus the Bills, and of course the Ravens have a first round bye. Seeding in the AFC is 7th Pittsburgh, 6th Miami, 5th Cleveland. Houston 4th, Chiefs 3rd, Bills 2nd, and Ravens 1st. Okay, so we're not going to spend any. Sorry, go ahead.
Did anybody find it weird that like the first 3 games are AFC and the last 3 are NFC?
I'm not even worried about it, dude. Not worth. Look, it is what it is. Maybe they just decided to do it that way, but I'm not worried about it.
Maurice is scripted.
Oh, don't say that. There's a script, huh?
Don't. We're not going to get into the whole entire conspiracy.
Try not to catch a case.
Let's not try to catch a case. That's right. Maurice, real quick, can you go over the results of fantasy football now that our season is officially over and we are done talking about it?
All right. So, yeah. First of all, congratulations to Joe.
Joe Alto. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Yep, he is the winner of our fantasy football league for this year. All right, congratulations to Joe. He won the championship in our league. He beat John, my guy, 263-233. And like if anybody doesn't know, it's a 2-week championship game. Every playoff matchup is 2 weeks. So that was his total for 2 weeks. So Joe came in first. John came in second. The third place game was me and Earl gave me a whooping. 326-238. It wasn't even close. It was payback. It was payback. It was. So Earl is the 3rd place winner. I am the 4th place winner. Hotel Odell Kyle is the 5th place winner because
now you lost to your man.
Yeah, he killed me.
What do you say, Mal?
He killed me. It wasn't good.
It was only about like 40 points.
Yeah.
Could have been
Not
worse, I
bad.
guess.
Yeah, so Kyle came in 5th, Mal came in 6th. Earl came in 7th because he won his 7th
Lucas.
place game.
Lucas. Don't get me
Lucas
mixed up.
Look,
Yeah,
I don't
no.
do well when I run the league, but when I don't run the league, I apparently do very well. Just check Maurice's fantasy basketball league right now.
You're not in
We ain't
first
talking
place
about
anymore.
basketball. This
I
is
am not
football,
in first
Lucas.
place right now, but I am still top. I'm still near the
Right.
top.
All right.
And that's just because I didn't try last week.
All right. Is that your excuse?
That is my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, we know that West wasn't really active during the season.
That
So,
doesn't matter. Hey, man, a win's a win.
It's an unfair advantage, Lucas.
but see, we didn't know West wasn't active, so you can easily say Lucas was the worst player in the league.
Oh, is that what we're doing? Is that how you want to play this? Is that how you want to play this?
You can say
Oh.
you're the worst. I mean, he doesn't really count, so no offense.
Okay. I'm like Earl says, I'm keeping receipts.
Ooh, okay.
Hey, that's
Keep
mine. You can't take that, sir. Stay
Okay.
with your grudges.
I'm holding a grudge.
Yeah, so that was our fantasy league. Congratulations once again.
Oh, I did have a quick question. Mal, did you win your championship in your other league?
I did.
Congratulations. I did
congratulations.
too.
Thank you.
I did too. Back-to-back champ.
Awesome. Love that for us.
All right, so that was our
Alright.
fantasy league.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you follow us and subscribe to us on Spotify and Apple Music, 13 Rings and NFC East podcasts. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and our new TikTok at 13_Rings podcasts. And also make sure you like us on Facebook, 13 Rings and NFC East podcasts. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
See ya.
Have a good night.
Blessings.